In a game that was defined by the first half, the Boilermakers took it to Indiana in the first half and give them the worst loss at home since before World War II. Let's get into it.
Walker three on the way. Oh!
Welcome, Hoosier fans. Come one, come all to Indiana Sports Connection. I am your residential anchor, Aaron. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode today. So the Hoosiers, they get absolutely taken down by the Boilermakers. This game really, from the 13-minute mark until the end of the first half, is really when the game was decided. Indiana outscored them 37-36 in the second half, but we can talk about the substitutions. We can talk about hindsight is 2020, and that's what I want to talk about on this episode, because Mbako only played 26 minutes and Kel'el Ware only played 26 minutes. Mbako ended the game with 2 fouls. I believe Ware ended the game with 3 fouls, and that's where we lost the game right there. Mbako gets 2 fouls early, goes out of the game. He scored the first 7 points for the Hoosiers. Suddenly you don't have him in the game. He's the only guy doing something on offense. And then Ware goes out of the game. The only really guy that we have to go up against Edey and try to make him uncomfortable. That being said, Payton Sparks, he played his ass off out there. I mean, he played as well as he could possibly play. But you go from playing at Ball State last year to playing against the National Player of the Year, and most likely will be the Player of the Year again this year, Zach Edey. That's a tall task. That's just not something you can really ask a player of his caliber to do. He did a great job but Payton Sparks, we know he's just highly overmatched in a situation like that. So the substituting, what did you think about the substituting? Leave a comment down below. It's very difficult to watch them play that whole half practically without Ware. And he did put him in. He put Ware in the last 2 minutes. I think he put Mbako in with about 3-4 minutes left. But at that point, the ship was already sailed. We were already behind by so much. It was just awful to watch the last 5 minutes of that first half, because where we are trying to claw back into the game and end the half, maybe being down by 12, something like that. We end the half on a really bad note, and they end up being ahead 51-29 at halftime. And at that point, it was just too big of a hill to climb for the Hoosiers. They made some really huge efforts in the second half, and Galloway did, and they cut it down to 9 points, and they were never able in the second half to get closer than 9 points. They went on a 20-7 run to start out the second half. So I hand it to the players and Galloway and all those guys. They really brought the intensity, and it took Purdue a little bit in that second half to match that intensity. But once they did, they were able to really. Fletcher Lawyer tore up Indiana. I mean, he was 3 of 3 on 3-pointers in the first half. I mean, that's the most efficient you can be. I mean, that's 100%. And then the one time we got within 9 in the second half, it was there's a switch off on him, leave him wide open for a 3. He drains it. Purdue extends the lead back out. And from that, we just had no real chance. From that point on, it was in the teens as far as how much we were behind. And it just seemed like the ship had really sailed. If we could have got it down within 5. But like I said, this game was lost in the first half. Our players foul early. Kel'el Ware, his second foul, really stupid mistake. I mean, you just can't foul that guy in that situation, picking up your second foul. Just let him have the 2 points. If you're not in good position, don't reach. These are the things with this team. They are very frustrating. That being said, let's move on to the next frustrating thing. Xavier Johnson. Xavier Johnson gets another technical foul in this game, sending Edey to the line. He makes some free throws, just something at that point in the game that was huge. And now we have 2 or 3 games now. This guy's gotten a flagrant foul. I don't know. What did you think about that? Leave a comment down below. My personal opinion, I would have sent him right to the locker room after he got that flagrant foul. I think we've seen enough. He's injured. or he's got something going on mentally where he can't be in the game. And whether he can figure that in practice, I'd put this guy on the B team in practice and make him play with the B players. And you know what? If he leaves, then he just leaves. At this point, he doesn't help us when he's out there on the floor. He's not helping us. He's not scoring points. I thought he made a big mistake. He caught a ball in the corner. He faked the shot. He got Fletcher Lawyer in the air, which was a good move. But I feel like right there, you either have to take that three or somehow try to get him to foul. He stepped in and then missed the two. And then another shot where Xavier Johnson was, he was in the corner, missed a wide open 3-pointer, and he doesn't have a very good looking shot. Last year, he did make some 3-pointers, and we could say, he was probably one of our better shooters. But this year, he's not had the experience. He's not been out there. And he does this. He shoots the ball like sideways off of his elbow. He kind of shot puts the ball. So, Xavier Johnson, it's just, what do you think is going to happen with him the rest of the way? Stats, first half stats. So in the first half, free throws, we're outscored on free throws 14-1. That is a huge part of the game right there. We're not going to the line. We're like 1 of 2 from the line, and they're like 14-16. That's just the name of the game. You're not going to win many games doing that. And then we were 2 of 12 on threes. We were awful on 3-pointers. You add in the flagrant foul, give the guy some extra free throws, an extra possession, and things just look really, really bad. Bright spots. Let's think about bright spots because written down here, Mbako of everybody is really coming along. This guy, he was really aggressive to start the game, maybe a little too aggressive. I thought the one, the charge that he took early, yeah, that was a charge. It's, I think he is still learning out there at his size and strength, just what he can really do out there. So, that's one you can't really blame him that much. But the other one was really stupid. Just the reach-in fouls for this team are just awful. I did see a ton of people in the comments section complaining about the referees. Yes, the call against CJ Gunn was awful, and Robbie Hummel on the broadcast pointed that out as well. The call against CJ Gunn was awful, and there were a few real ticky-tack type fouls, but that's not why we lost this game. You have to realize this. When we came out in this game, Purdue was the aggressor right from the beginning. And Edey finally got, his big victory. He's lost some games against Trace Jackson Davis. And so he finally got his revenge on winning at Assembly Hall. And they just seemed focused right out the gate. And Purdue is a really good team. I would say Purdue, and there's probably people on here trolling us, but Purdue win the national championship. It's like, if this is your year to win it all, you got this huge guy that's coming back. I can definitely tell Lawyer and Braden Smith are playing better than they've ever played before. And then you got that, I don't know all their names. You got that bigger guy playing down low by Edey. He was effective. And so Purdue is a well-oiled machine with their recruiting, with Matt Painter, with the guys he brings in, with the system they run. They are right now really kind of like what IU was back in its like prime days of always being a top team. That's what we need to bring to Indiana. I don't know what we have to do. I wish we recruited guys like Braden Smith, but we don't really seem to. Now, we do have like Gabe Cupps. I don't know what like star, he wasn't like a high recruit, but, how can Indiana get it done? But for the rest of this season, Indiana right now is really a team that is just so inconsistent. when it comes down to how they can put it together for more than like 10 minutes at a time in a game, they really struggle to do that. And like I talked about in one of my other episodes, Indiana, I mean, ranking by how many of their players have played together, how much experience they have playing together, Indiana ranks 255 on that list of how many of their players have played together like that. So we don't have the experience. We don't have the consistency that we need to win a game like this against a team like Purdue. Now, it was a lot of wishful thinking. I really thought the crowd the crowd almost brought them back into the game in the second half. You know, Gabe Cupps came out, hit a three. Galloway hit a couple threes, get it down to 9. It was a lot of wishful thinking when thinking that the crowd and everything else could really affect Purdue. But Purdue came in there like they were on a business mission, and they were just there to beat Indiana. And we looked like we were thinking that somehow the ghost of Indiana's past were just going to win that game for us. And it just absolutely did not happen. Just trying to think of any other plays in the game that I want to talk about that were big. You got something to say there, Hillbilly Monkey? That old Payton Sparks, he did as good as he possibly could do. Well, I did think Payton Sparks did as good as he could do. I mean, he is the round mound of rebound out there, but his offensive skills are lacking. He tried harder than anybody out there. That's true. I thought he was really, really trying hard. My player of the game for this game is going to be Trey Galloway, though. I mean, Galloway really showed up in the second half. He was really playing intense, and we need that out of everybody. Cupps and Galloway in the second half, that was a good combination to see them start out, hit some three-pointers. And you can see when either the coach or somebody gave them the green light to shoot some of those, that they had some confidence going into it, and they made some of those shots to start out the second half. Now, it didn't last, but this whole game really boiled down to the amount of time. Once Mbako and Ware just got those fouls early, Renew, and this is what drives me nuts about Indiana's players. Ware, Renew, none of those guys play under the basket with their chest out. Like, if you're going to play against Edey, you cannot reach, and you just have to, like, put your chest against him, and if he's going to bang, just let him bang against your chest. I mean, you got it. That is how it is done. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis got better and better and better at that, and not fouling. It seems simple, but it seems like something they should be working on more down low with these guys. I'll tell you, somebody that was at a Matt Painter practice told me that it's like all he works on is aggressiveness. Like, a lot of his practice is him just throwing balls in the middle of the court and making two guys aggressively go after it, or throwing rebounds off the glass and making guys just go after offensive rebounds. A lot of that you can tell Indiana doesn't have. When a loose ball goes out, you don't see a lot of Indiana players like really just intently going after the ball. It's something they lack. It's something they really lack this year. And I think like Jackson Davis and those guys, I don't think Mike Woodson, having come from the NBA, I don't think he knows how to coach these guys in that way. I don't think you coach NBA players that way. I don't think you tell NBA players to be more aggressive, and I don't think you're running loose ball drills in an NBA game. You got to remember, these are kids coming in here that have only played high school. And depending on who your high school coach is or how much AAU basketball you played, depends a lot on whether or not you're going to be able to understand college basketball plays and defense and some of those concepts. It's all about the process for Purdue. And you can tell that they are a team that only cares about the process of what they're doing. They are going to whip the ball around the perimeter, get it inside, back outside, around the perimeter for open shots. And you can tell they really trust what their coach is teaching them out there. So Indiana, our experience is coming. This is a down year for Indiana. I'm not going to say that they're not going to make the tournament, but until it's like obvious that they're not going to make the tournament, but we still have a lot of games to play, and this team still has a lot of developing to do. So hopefully they can put it together as the season goes on, and maybe, just maybe, he can have them playing well enough to maybe win the Big Ten tournament. That might be one of our only hopes as IU fans. But these guys, Woodson, a lot of people complaining about Woodson. I think he's going to be back next year. He's going to be back for at least one more year, and maybe 2 more years. And I think a lot of people are getting sick of him as a coach, but right now, we just are where we are. I think big changes. I think the team will be better without Xavier Johnson being on it next year. And hopefully in the future, if we're getting a transfer player like that, and he's going to be how Xavier Johnson's been for the Indiana Hoosiers, if he's going to be that way, that we could be a little bit more selective. Now, keep this in mind. When Mike Woodson came into Indiana, we had a lot of bad guard play for a lot of years. I mean, Rob Finney, a letdown. Al Durham probably shouldn't even have ever started in the Big Ten. I mean, we had a lot of bad guard play during the Archie Miller years. So I do see why, Woodson took a chance on Xavier Johnson when he first came into Indiana. I do see why he took that chance on him. But at this point, with what he's shown us and how he's kind of like proven himself to be this distraction out there on the court, I think it's just time to like keep maybe bringing him off the bench or just limit his time in total, because he is really hurting the team when he's out there. And it goes a lot deeper than just the flagrant foul. It's his attitude, and it's how people are responding to him, and people just don't really like it. So, and I don't like it. And you can just tell that a lot of these young guys, they just don't like playing with him. I think the whole team operates better if he was just not out there. I think we took a big step back when we brought him back to the team. I think this whole team took a big step back in their development when Xavier Johnson got back out there on the court. But tough losing to Purdue in that way. And you know what? We just are what we are right now, Hoosier fans. And until next time, stay classy out there, Hoosier fans.